Dear student, I am starting your lecture number 9. In lecture number 9, I will discuss multivibrator. You have to study the three multivibrator circuit in a unit 2 of a paper PPH 1802. So, today I will discuss the stable multivibrator. So let us see what is multivibrator. Multivibrator are the switching circuit. Multivibrators are the two-stage switching circuit in which output of the one stage is feedback to the input of second stage or vice versa. Listen again. The multivibrator circuits are two-stage switching circuit in which the output of one stage is feedback to the input of other stage or vice versa. The output of the two stages are complement to each other. There are three multivibrators: astable multivibrator, bistable multivibrator, and monostable multivibrator. There are three multivibrators: astable, bistable, and monostable multivibrator. Astable, the A itself tells you it does not have any stable stage. It is a two causes stable state, it is called. Astable multivibrator does not have any stable state. Its output switches from one stage to another stage continuously. It is also known as a free running multivibrator. Output is continuously changing, and the time duration of this one stage depends upon the discharging of RC circuit. So astable means it does not have any stable state. It is a two causes stable state. Its output is continuously changing from one state to another state. Okay, and the time duration of the each state depends upon the discharging of RC circuit. Bistable means it has a two stable state. It is used in a memory devices. It is also known as a flip-flop. As you give the trigger, as you give the input to the bistable, state is changed. As you give the some input, the output of circuit changes from on to off, or you can say or off to on. So in a bistable, the input is required. Input is required. You apply the trigger pulse, then output state is changed. If it is in on state, it change from on to off. If it is in off state, then it is changed from off to on. Means it is used in a memory device. The state of the output does not change till the input is given, input trigger pulse is given. So bistable is used as a memory device. It is also known as a flip-flop circuit. Now third is a monostable. In a monostable, it has a one causes stable state. As you apply the input, as you give the triggers, the output is changed from on to off, and this monostable circuit remain in this state depending upon the time constants of the RC circuit, and it will come back to its original state. Again you apply the trigger pulse, this will change the state. So here is required the trigger input. This also require the trigger input. This does not require any input. Without input, you are getting continuously square wave, and therefore this circuit is known as a oscillator circuit. So a stable multivibrator is a oscillator. It is a square wave generator. The bistable and monostable circuit are not a oscillator circuit. Bistable require the trigger input. As you apply the triggers, it changes the state from one to another. Here, bistable, we know it is used as a memory device because state of the output does not change till the input trigger is applied. In monostable, as you apply the trigger input, the state of the output is changing from one to another, and this remain in this state depending upon the time constants of RC circuit, and it will come back to the original state. So this also requires the triggering input. This monostable also requires the triggers input. Bistable also requires the trigger input. So this two circuit is not a oscillator. This two circuit is not a oscillator. Only a stable circuit is known as a oscillator. So today we are discussing a stable multivibrator circuit. So I am discussing a stable multivibrator. The circuit diagram of a stable multivibrator is as shown in figure. This is the circuit diagram for a, you can say, symmetrical astable multivibrator. I am showing you the circuit diagram of a symmetrical astable multivibrator. It uses two transistors Q1 and Q2. Okay. This is a ground line. This is a supply voltage. Generally here I am writing 12 volt. This is RL2 load resistor. This is RL1. Now here I am showing you this R1, and this is your capacitor C1. Here I am showing you the resistors R2 and capacitor C2. The output of this stage, is connected to the input of the first stage. Look here, this output is connected to the input. So I am showing you. You can see this is connected like this. Already I used this word. Output of the one stage, it feed back to the input of other stage. See the output of this stage Q1 transistor, this is a Q2. Output of Q1 is given to the input of Q2. You can see in this circuit. Here, this is the output of the Q1 is given to the input of Q2 through C1. Output of the Q2 is given to the input of Q1 through the capacitor C2. Now, just for your understanding, I am writing this value. This is your let us start the discussion on the astable multivibrator. This is a circuit diagram of a symmetrical astable multivibrator. You can see that the components in a one half of the circuit is equal to the its counterpart circuit, or you can say component of one half of the circuit is equal to the component value of the other half of the circuit. To analyze the circuit, it is assumed that circuit is oscillating, and justify it will continue to do so. Let us start the discussion. As power supply is on, then one transistor will conduct more than the others due to some circuit imbalance. Circuit imbalance means slightly some parameter of the transistor Q1 and Q2 will change. All this component value is slightly different. So due to some circuit imbalance, as the power supply is made on, one transistor will conduct more than the other. Let us assume that this transistor is in a off condition on the power supply, and Q1 is in on condition. So this voltage is nearly about, you can say, 12 volt or VCC, and this voltage is nearly about 0 volt. Nearly about 0 volt, I can say, or 0.5 or 0.6 voltage at this point I am writing, I am showing. So as you make the power supply on, as this power supply is on, due to some circuit imbalance, transistor Q2 comes in a off condition, Q1 is come in a on condition. As a result, the output collector VC2 I am writing. VC2 is initially it is in off condition, and VC1 is on condition. This is nearly about VCC. This is nearly about 0 volt. This is your VC2, you can say. This is your VC1 voltage with respect to ground. Now, as this is in on conditions, so this voltage is very less between base and emitter of Q1. This is in off conditions, this voltage is very high. This is your 12 volt. This is your 12 volt, nearly 12 volt. If you have given 12, it is 12. If you have given 10, it is 10 volt, or nearly about VCC. Due to this reason, these capacitors start charging by this path. Start charging by this path. These capacitors get the charge by this path. So I can say this is your polarity of the capacitors. These capacitors get charged through RL2 and base emitter of a transistor Q1 in this way. Now C1 had already previously charged to 12 volt before assumption made, and as this Q1 conduct, these capacitors start discharging by this path. Start discharging by this path. Look here, by this path through R1 and Q1. So this is the discharging path of capacitors through R1 and C1. This discharge gives a negative pulse to the transistor Q2, to the base of transistor Q2. As a result, this Q2 will come in a off state. That assumption we made. You can see this in this diagram. Look here, this is your charging of capacitor C2 through RL2 and base emitter of a transistor Q1. When this is charging, at the same time the C1 discharging by this path. As C1 discharge, immediately this negative pulse is given to the base of transistor Q2, and that I am showing you here. This is negative. This is here like this. It gives the negative voltage to this. As it gives the negative voltage, see initially. So transistor Q2 is come in a off condition. Transistor Q2 is coming off condition. You can see this is as minus with transistor Q2 is in off condition. VC2 voltage is very high. That I have shown by this. So it is in this way you can say. As this is discharged, immediately this gives the negative pulse. As a result, this transistor Q2 come in a off condition that we are showing by this path. And this is your voltage at capacitor C1. How much? Minus VCC. And this capacitor C1 get discharged through R1 and transistor Q1. See, this I am showing you discharge part. Discharge part. You can see discharge part. So this is discharging. This is remaining a off condition. The time length of the transistor Q2 remain in off condition depends upon time constants of R1 C1. Remember this one. This remain in a off condition depends upon the time constants of R1 C1. Means when this is totally discharged, then look here what will happen. When this is totally discharged, slightly positive voltage is developed to the base of transistor Q2. You can see here. As slightly voltage is developed at the base of transistor Q2, immediately transistor Q2 come in a off condition. From off, it is come to the on condition. Look again. When this is totally discharged, C1 is discharging through the resistor R1 and transistor Q1. When it is totally discharged, some positive voltage, slightly positive voltage is developed at the base of transistor Q2. As a result, transistor Q2 is in forward bias. Immediately transistor start to conduct, and you will get output voltage of VC2 is from high voltage to low voltage. You can see fast falling edge. Here is your high voltage, it is low voltage. Listen again. This remaining in a off condition, depends upon the time constants of R1 C1. Approximately after 5 time constants, these transistors start conducting. I explain you why it start conducting, because when this is totally discharged, slightly positive voltage is developed at base of transistor Q2. Due to this positive voltage, transistor Q2 will conduct. As a result, the collector voltage from VCC to it become nearly zero. This fast falling edge show that transistor is going from off condition to on condition for transistor Q2. Now, look here. So as this come here in a on conditions, this capacitor supply negative voltage to this, because this start discharging by this one. This capacitor start discharging by R2 and collector of Q2. This capacitor, as this capacitor get discharged, this negative voltage is coming to the Q1. As a result, this VC1 is VCC. As negative voltage is coming to this is in a off condition. This comes in a which condition? Off condition. and this comes in a which condition? On condition. Look here, as this voltage becomes 0, this capacitor start discharging by R2 and Q2. As this is discharging, this discharge voltage is negative, is coming to the base of Q1. As a result, Q1 will come in a off conditions that I am showing you by this way. Look here, as this is your totally discharged, this capacitor C1, some positive voltage develop at base. As a result, your base of the Q2 positive, so collector voltage at Q2 tends to 0, so it will conduct. As a result, C2 get discharged through this, it get discharged. C2 this is a discharging path through R2 and Q2, and this gives the negative voltage to the base Q1. As a result, look here, this gives the negative voltage, you can see. This is the initially transistor is Q1 is in on condition. When it is on condition, base voltage of the Q1 is positive. As the base voltage gets the negative voltage due to this discharge, immediately this come in a transistor Q1 come in a off condition, that you can see here. You are looking here, you are getting this is rounding shape here. Reason is that during the charging time of this capacitor, some voltage is developed across RL1, so you will get some less voltage here at collector of transistor than VCC. But after some short times, you will get here voltage is nothing but the VCC. Due to some voltage drop across RL1, while the capacitor is charging, we will get VC1 voltage is slightly less than the VCC, but within a short time you will get again VCC. So this transistor remain in a off conditions depending upon the discharging of capacitor C2 through R2 and Q2. This is I have shown the charging. This is your discharging path of C2. This is your discharge of C1. This is your charge. Now look here. As this is in a off condition, this capacitor start to charge through this path RL1 and base emitter of a transistor Q2. This is the charging path, because here is positive voltage of the order of 0.7 volt. This voltage is of the order of VCC. So this capacitor get the charge through RL1 and base emitter of transistor Q2. Look here. This is I am showing you charging path of a C1. When this is charging, at the same time the C2 discharging. When C2 is charging, at the same time C2 is charging, at the same time C1 is discharging. So here this remain in a off condition depends upon the time constants of C2 and R2. So you can say here the transistor Q2 remain in a off condition depending upon the discharging of C1 through R1. Similarly, transistor Q1 remain in a off condition depends upon discharging of capacitor C2 through R2. So it is your regenerative feedback, you can say. So I'll use this for a derivation of a frequency of oscillation of periodic time of the oscillation. Look here. Now I am telling you, remember this transistor remain in a off condition depends upon the discharge of C2 and R2. Means it depends upon the time constants of R2 C2. This remaining of condition depends upon this time constant of this. So you can say output of given to the input of this and output is given to the input of this. It's a regenerative process. Now I am deriving the equation of a periodic time t, this t. This is your T1, this is your T2 that I am deriving. Look here now. See, expression of periodic time t. I can write the VCC is equal to VB2 plus IC1 R1. You can see here. This voltage, this is your VB2 I am writing. So you see very clearly VCC is equal to, while this is your discharging, at that time I am writing this equation. This voltage plus this voltage. When this capacity is discharging by this path, at that time I am writing VCC is equal to this voltage IC1 R1 plus VB2 that I have written here. You can see it. Now, so I can write VB2 is nothing but the VCC minus IC1 R1. I want to find the time duration for transistor Q2 remain in a off condition. Means I want to find the for T2 I am doing this for T2 off means transistor Q2 remain in off condition. You can see here. Transistor Q2 remain in off condition during this much time. So initial voltage at the base is how much? VCC minus VCC. Then voltage at the base is how much? Nearly 0. So that time I want to. Now you can see your it is exponentially what discharge takes place. So I have to write for initial is voltage is minus VCC. So I can write IC1 is nothing but the 2 VCC by R1, and so remaining equation I can write this VB2 is nothing but the VCC minus, say I am putting this value here, is this 2 VCC upon R1, and your current is changing exponentially, so I am using a exponential term. Your exponential decay takes place. So due to exponential term, I am adding the here e raised to minus t R1 C1. Now this voltage becomes 0. It is changing from, we remember VB2 is changing from, VCC to 0 voltage, and this during this time it is transistor remain in a off condition, so I should write T2 to off. So that's why I am writing here this equation in this way, e raised to minus T2 off. So from this you can easily write 0 is equal to 1 minus 2 into e raised to minus T2, it is R1. So I can write 1 is equal to this here 2 e raised to minus T2 R1. So I can write this is your 1 by 2 e raised to minus T2 R1 C1. So I can write e raised to T2 R1 C1 is equal to 2. So T2 by R1 C1 is equal to ln2. And you know this ln2 is nothing but the 0.693. So in this way you derive the T2 of. Similarly, you can derive the T1 of is 0.693 R2 C2. Similarly, this is off, you can see. Means like this. See. This is for Q2 is off, Q1 is, Q2 is on. It means here Q1 is your on, here Q1 is your off. This is your T1, T2, and this is your T1 off, you can say. This is your T2 off. So this is your total time T. So from this I can write T is equal to T1 plus T2. So 0.693 into R1C1 plus R2C2. This is the equation of periodic time for a astable multivibrator. For a symmetrical multivibrator, I am writing this. So T is equal to 0.693 into 2R1C1. So I can write 1.4 R1C1. So I can write frequency is equal to 1.4 R1C1. So I can write, so you can write 0.714 upon R1C1. Suppose someone says, sir, I want to get the asymmetrical output. Asymmetrical means, say what is symmetrical? This is called symmetrical. This is, you can say, symmetricals. If T1 and T2 both is equal, if T1 and T2 both is equal, it is called symmetrical. If T1 and not T2 are not equal, this is your T1, this is your say this is T1, this is T2 and T like so. So if you want to get such kind of the what output, it is called non-symmetrical, asymmetrical. For that R1 and R2 are not equal, C1, C2 are not equal. So by keeping a different value of R1 and R2 or C1 and C2, you can get the asymmetrical output. If you want to keep unsymmetrical output, then you can get the different value of resistor, you can keep a different value of resistor. Sometimes you can vary your, you can keep your variable resistor. I will show you variable resistors in this circuit. If these two are variable resistors, if the resistors are variable, then you can get unsymmetrical output. You will get unsymmetrical output. This is called unsymmetrical, is not symmetrical output. Now, see, if you want to vary the frequency of oscillation, then you can keep a different supply voltage to the base resistor and collector resistor as shown in figure. I am keeping the different supply voltage to the base and collector resistor. This is collector resistors. I am giving that volt supply is VCC. Now I am giving the different supply voltage VBB for base resistors. If I am keeping this, and if I am keeping all value are equals, then my frequency of oscillation for different supply voltage is like this, is given by this equation. If you are keeping a different supply voltage to the base resistors and collector resistors, you are giving a different supply voltage to the base for the base. Sorry, if you are giving the different supply voltage to the base and collectors for the transistors, then then equations of the periodic time is as shown in figure. By changing the either VCC voltage and VBB, you can vary your frequency of oscillation. Here all the values are equal. RL1 is equal to RL2, R1 is equal to R2. You can get different frequency by changing either base voltage or collector voltage. Now let us see the one condition, minimum value of the HFE. Let us see the minimum value of HFE of a transistor. When Q2 is in a on condition, at that time you can write this value. At the same time you can write also this. Look here for your more clarity. Listen, to get the oscillation of the circuit, the transistor must be saturated. Transistor must be saturated. And you have to select the value of the R1, R2 such that this condition should be satisfied. Let us see. When transistor Q2 is in a saturation regions, when transistor Q2 is in a saturation region, look here, this is in a saturation region, so I can write this VCC is equal to this voltage plus this voltage. When this is in a saturation, remember what this transistor is in saturation, I can write, this is RL2, this is your VCC, this is your VC2. So I can write VCC is equal to, I can write, look here, VCC is equal to this voltage. Which voltage? Voltage across RL2 plus VC2. So what I have written? Current multiplied by resistance. So I have written like this. This VCC is equal to current multiplied by resistance plus VC2. At the same time, you know this is discharging like this. So I can write VCC is equal to this voltage plus this voltage. So I can write, look here, this is your R1 and you connect it like this. This is your VB2 and here is also VCC. So what should I write? You can say VCC is equal to IC1 R1 plus VB2. It is very clear. Look here, this discharging by this way. So VCC is equal to this voltage plus this voltage. So that I have written VCC is equal to this voltage is what? IC1 R1 plus VB2. This is connected like this. So when this is in a saturation, when this is in a on condition, at that time VCC is equal to IC2 RL2 plus VC2 plus and VCC is equal to IC1 R1 plus VB2. You can see here, this I have shown this diagram. This is your Q2. So look here, this voltage is of the order, this is conducting, so this is very very less, this is also very very less, this is of the order of point, so I can write 0.5 over this. So with compared to VCC this can be neglected, with compared to VCC this can be neglected. Transistor is in on condition, the collector voltage is very very less, so this voltage can be neglected to this, this voltage can be neglected in compared to this. So I can write VCC is equal to IC to RL2. Here VCC I can write IB to R1. So I can compare IC to RL2 is IB to R1. And this is, I should write in this way because current is more saturated region. So I can write IC2. So I can write this in this way also. So this is your HFE. If I am taking R1 is equal to R2 and RL1 is equal to RL2, then you have to select the resistance value should be such that this value should satisfy to ensure the oscillations. I think you understand. Again I am discussing minimum value of the HFE. When Q2 is in a on condition, you must be knowing to get the oscillation transistor should be saturated. Transistor should come in a on, then off. So when transistor come in a on condition for Q2 I am writing VCC is equal to voltage across collector resistor plus voltage at collector. At the same time VCC is equal to IB to R1 plus VB2. Already I have shown. This is voltage is very less compared to VCC, though this can be neglected, so I have written like this. This voltage is very less compared to this, though I have written like this. Both are, you can compare this, and this is saturated. The collector current is very large, saturated region, so this voltage should be more. Here you can write. So I have written this equation in this way. So this is a condition to get oscillation. Here I am giving the end of the lecture.